All right, so this is the second and last video in the GitHub lessons module. And what we're going to go over is GitHub Desktop. So this is a different way to interact with Git. And instead of going onto the GitHub website, you can download this application. And you'll notice in this video, I'm going to go a little bit more into detail about the operations that you can do with Git. Just because I think that GitHub Desktop is a lot better way to manage and interact with your code than the GitHub website. So we're just going to go a little bit into the operations of like committing to code and pushing your code changes, as well as pulling and fetching code changes that were made by someone else or made on a different machine. So this right here is the website you download GitHub Desktop from. The URL is just desktop.github.com. And then, of course, you have your options for downloading based on your operating system if you're a Mac user or a Windows user. And yeah, so this is, yeah, pretty easy. Just click that. And then, of course, just like you did for, so when you went through the github.com or the GitHub website, you created an account. And you're just going to use the same one when you eventually download and open up GitHub Desktop. So I'm going to close this. And now. GitHub Desktop should look something like this. It's a purple logo. So we're going to open that. And this is what it should look like. Now, you might have a version that is, let's see. Yes. So this is probably what yours will look like once you open it and then log in to your with your GitHub account. You can change the way it looks. I personally like the appearance to be dark. I feel like when things are brighter, it strains my eyes a little bit more. So this is what the GitHub desktop application should look like when you open it. And you'll notice you have a few things on the top here. So you have your current repository. So if you click this, you'll notice that these are all the repositories that I have downloaded locally on my computer. And if I want to add a new one that is maybe a repository that I created somewhere else or that I am collaborating with others on, I can click the add button. And that's true. That's the other thing. You can create a new repository here. You can add an existing one, but you want to click clone repository. Now, these are all the repositories that I'm a part of or that I've created. So let's say I wanted to, so this is a repository for a project I worked on for senior design. So we did 3D printing security, and this has all of our code. So if I wanted to have this repository on this computer and work on it and make changes to it, I can click on it. And then this is the path that it downloads it to locally. And then I can hit clone. So now it's cloning the code that is in that repository to my computer. And just to show you where that's going while that is working, usually it puts it into documents, GitHub, and then there it is. There's the folder. So 3D printing security, and there's all of our code. All right, so here it is. Now, when you are in a repository, you can look at the changes that you made. You can also look at the history of changes to the code that were made. So you'll notice that some of these changes were made by me. Some of these other changes were also made by my friends in this project. And it's really cool because it shows you in red the stuff that's deleted and then also the stuff in green that was added to the code. All right, so let's go to the A-frame activities repository that we looked at in the last video. And it's a pretty new repository. I haven't added a lot, but yeah. And then now, so if I make changes, if I want to make changes to this code, I click on repository and I can view the repository in Explorer and then make changes with the text editor, or you can open in Visual Studio Code just like this. All right. And maybe in another video later on, I could talk about how to use Visual Studio Code. I think I go over it in the A-frame, one of the A-frame videos, but it's essentially a text editor for writing code. That's all it is. Let's say I wanted to make a change to the README file. So let's just add something here. In this project, we go over physics, animations, network setup, objects, and basic syntax of HTML and A. So let's say I wanted to add that to the README file because I thought it was maybe useful or helpful to describe that to people. So I save it. So when I save it and I go back to GitHub Desktop, you'll notice that my change is there. So now it says one changed file, and it says there's a change in the README. So you'll notice that in the green, there's the text that I added. So I added a better description. Talks about topics in a frame that this code covers. And then now, so this is committing. When you make a change to code and you want, when you're making a change and you want to actually update the repository with that change, you're making a commit and then a push. So you commit to the main branch. Okay, now you're not done yet. So you just committed it. To finalize it, you have to push to the origin. Okay, and then once you do that, then the change is made. So if you go to the history, you can see that it's now added to the history of the commits that and pushes that I made. So I added a better description, and yeah, so there's the change. And just to double check too, if you go to the GitHub website and you go to that repository, you'll notice that the change is there. All right, so that is committing and pushing to the repository. Now, let's say it's the other way around. Let's say I didn't make changes myself, but someone else did, or maybe you did, but from a different machine. So just to make this really quick, I'm going to edit the README file again. And I'm just going to add something here. So in the future, we will learn how to add leap motion controller functionality to A-frame. And the leap motion controller, just for a quick description, it's something you put on your desktop. And when you wave your hands over it, you can actually see your hands in the virtual environment. And these are now actually compatible with A-frame. And it's one of the tutorial videos that I made is to show you how to see your hands in the VR environment that you create in A-frame. So that's pretty cool. All right, so I made that change. And again, description. Okay. All right. And again, I'm just going to commit directly to the main branch. All right. Now, the one difference here, which I should note, when you are on the GitHub website, all you have to do is click commit, and then you're good. But on the desktop application, you have to click commit and then push, and then it's finalized. So that's kind of the difference there. Now that I've done that, I'm going to go to GitHub desktop and I'm going to show you what happens. So when you open up your GitHub desktop application, it's always a good practice to start by clicking Fetch Origin in case someone else has made changes. All right, so now you'll see that it says Pull Origin. So with the down arrow, you'll notice that that means one commit and push has been made to the repository. So if I want to update my local folders or my local download of the repository, I click Pull Origin. And then that's it. And now my code is updated locally. So you'll notice here there's just the other history too. In the future, we will learn how to add Leap Motion Controller. And just to show you, the change has really been made on my local copy of the code. Documents, GitHub, A-frame activities, and I'll open up the README, and you'll notice right here, here's the change. In the future, we will learn how to add Leap Motion Controller functionality to A-frame. All right. And yeah, so that's basically it for the desktop application. There's a few other functionality or operations that you can do with Git and this application, but those really are the main ones that you need to know about. But yeah, if you are curious about the other functions or the other operations that you can do with Git or GitHub, and yeah, you just want to know more about it, or you have questions about this video and the topics that I covered, just reach out to me on Slack, or feel free to email me too. But yeah, other than that, that's pretty much it. So thanks for watching.